Okay, we're all set. All right, everybody, welcome to the August, not October, edition of the Morgan Horse Source with Bethia. We will get started right now. All right, so we can get right into it. So we have a set of questions for you.
Okay.
So first of all, you have your own business. So how did that start, and how did you start sewing and learning how to make your own coats?
So it totally happened in reverse. I never planned for this to be a business. I was looking for outfits for myself for when I was heavily showing Trip in 2013, the beginning of his show season. And so, I'm looking around everywhere for affordable options, and it's not a thing in our industry. So I ended up finding my partner on Reddit, which was a total accident. And she's been very patient with me because I didn't have a background in sewing. So I've kind of had to learn in reverse. She was in college at the time as a student in art school. And so she was much more advanced than I was, but she's kind of been teaching me as we go. And I'm still her student every day, but she's awesome.
That's super cool. And now, how has your business evolved over the years? I know that you started out just to hunt coats, and then you moved into the other divisions.
Yeah, I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to both what I wear and charging a client for something. And so we have slowly been tweaking our pattern, even from the very beginning. Our hunt coat, which was the first thing we started with, has seen 36 changes from the very first pattern that we started. And I think it's perfect now, but maybe tomorrow I'll want to change things to it. And we're kind of just in the beginning stages with saddle seat and Western divisions, just tweaking it until it's so perfect that I'm happy.
And how do you think that your experiences with Morgan's influence your business?
I think, oh gosh, a lot of different ways. My perfectionism comes in. I'm kind of the same way in the show ring than I would be in a business model. I very much want to be the best. I got that competitive nature in me. And also hard work ethic. I think all horse girls know that. They're long days. Long days. I live with my horse. So I'm up at 6 to clean stalls, and I race home to feed him dinner. Still run a business in the middle of that, and it's a lot.
Yeah. And now, bringing it way back, how did you get into Morgan's in the first place?
My very first riding lesson I took when I was 4 years old just happened to be at a Morgan farm, and it stuck. I got back in the car after my first lesson. My mom said, how'd you like it? And I said, isn't it great? And she said, isn't what great? I said, that I found my thing. And I was 4. So I guess I did find my thing. I'm
Right.
still here.
That's funny. And now at the World Championships in 2015, you were reserve Youth of the Year. What was that like, and how did you prepare for that?
Oh gosh, a lot of studying. I'm so grateful for Mrs. Sarah Foy, who really took me under her wing and got me studied and knowing what I needed to practice. I was always pretty confident in the speech portion, but the judging was a lot harder for me. So I really needed some help and study materials in that.
That's awesome. And also you were recognized with the Justin Morgan Merit Badge, which is the highest level of achievement in the horse mastership program. So how did you go about doing that? I understand that it's got a lot of different levels to it and steps, and that it helps a lot to have your own horse. And how do you feel that that program made you a better horse person?
So again, going back to me having a competitive spirit and me being a little bit of a perfectionist, I had aged out in 2015 was my last year I could compete for the Youth of the Year title. And so when I came in reserve, I was a little bit mad at myself. And so the best way to do that was to come back and get the horse mastership program. And so I had a little bit of time to finish that. I think I had 2 months before I aged out, and I busted my butt to get it done. But that was kind of my wanting to finish something, feel like I did the best that I could. I definitely do think I learned there's a lot in the horse mastership program that is like, I mean, veterinary science stuff that people in vet school learn that even people with backyard horses might not know. And so that really helped me to look for things quicker, and even plant species in my paddock that you might not think about, but you need to know that are toxic. So definitely that extra knowledge took me farther and made me feel more comfortable to have a horse at home. And
Right. And now, was there anything that you got to try through that? Like, I know that one of the things you might have to jump your horse that you might
Mhm.
not have tried before.
So I rode side saddle, which was which was interesting. You have to show proficiency in 7 of 8 seats. So I did everything except stock seat, which I would love to learn to do. But yeah, side saddle is really hard.
That's cool. And now you mentioned that you live next to your horse these days, like a little roommate. So
Yep.
what do you do with Trip these days?
So the last year, we really have focused on his breeding career, and we're really excited for that for next year. Um, we're making a lot of changes recently, which I'm really excited about. And I hope when we get back in the show ring, maybe next year, he will be better than ever. So that's something to look forward to. It's cool. Being the only horse in the barn, he gets to be a horse. He gets to go outside all day. He's currently on night turnout, so all night. And it's cool getting to, wake up and see your horse. It's pretty special. We share a wall. I live in the apartment inside the barn. So we share a wall. I can hear what he's doing all hours of the day and night. And it's definitely brought us closer.
For better or for worse. And now, is he open to the public for reading, and what is it like to manage that kind of business on the side?
Yeah, so I'm really grateful that I have a breeding manager, Annie Morgan Flint, of the Morgan Horse Farm, and she manages that stuff because I'm still learning. This is my first breeding stallion, so I have a lot to learn in that department. But when it comes to managing a stallion, I think just at the end of the day, really knowing horse behavior and stallion behavior is really important. Because somebody could get hurt if you're not aware of those things, and B, sometimes stallions just are stallions and you can't get mad at them, and they just are, but they have so much heart, they will do anything you ask of them if you're fair with them.
Right, right. And what has been your favorite Morgan experience?
Oh gosh, I have so many.
You can list a few if you want.
Definitely our East Coast Hunter Pleasure title. I went into that thinking that I would be lucky if I just got a ribbon. I think there were 10 in the class. So I was like, even 10th place is great with me. So that was an absolute shock. I remember looking around for who the winner was and being like, oh, it's me? What? So that was just a huge honor. I never expected that. So
And now that leads us into our next question. How did you prepare and train for that particular title? There's a lot of work that must go into that.
yeah, a lot of early mornings, a lot of time at the barn, making sure that Trip was physically where I wanted him was the highest importance to me. We drive him a lot. I probably only ride maybe 2 days a week, and the rest is driving or groundwork. And yeah, so having a really great farrier was really important, making sure that he was balanced and comfortable. And we did, I mean, up until New England, I think we had like a saddle fitter out, a horse chiropractor out, a human chiropractor out, a sports psychologist. Yeah, we took it pretty seriously, so it paid off.
That's cool. Um, and now leading into our next question, you did all this while being an amateur owned, trained, and shown exhibitor. Can you tell us a little bit about that, the extra work, or some of the challenges and rewards of being in that division?
It definitely is really cool to see the work pay off, from where he was as a baby to where he is now is, and knowing that I taught him those things is just such a cool moment, especially when you watch it click with the horse, when you've been trying and trying and they're just not getting it. And then it just seems like out of the blue, it clicks. That's the most rewarding feeling. And knowing that you can win, watching all of those little tiny milestones accumulate to a win is really special. There are definitely challenges getting in the show ring sometimes as an amateur owner trainer. I don't usually have a lot of helping hands. So that can be tricky. Not having somebody on the rail for tips can be hard. I've been lucky to have some people help me out in the past, some really wonderful, generous trainers that will give me tips or, tell me when to cut and things like that, which are important. But yeah, things you might take for granted if you have always been with a trainer.
Right, right. And now kind of leading to the next one, do you have any kind of advice you would want to give someone who's thinking about doing their own training and for their own horse?
When it comes to training, I would just say read and watch like as many educational things as you can, because I feel like the more that I learn, the more that I realize I don't know. And that's okay. It's okay to admit that, because things are changing all the time. We're learning new science. We're learning more about how to be better horse owners and how to be better trainers. And just because something's always been done one way doesn't mean that it's always the right way. So yeah, being humble to admit that you don't know everything and you can learn something from everybody. And even if it's not, your specific discipline, you might be able to take something away that's really important that you can apply to your discipline or division.
Right, because every horse is different and different training methods work in different horses.
Mm-hmm.
And now for our last question, kind of bringing it back to the beginning, do you have any advice for people who might want to start their own business like yours?
Yes. So I also work a full-time job in addition to doing Alden Customs. And we all we do is help small business owners. And so it's really rewarding and humbling to see other people come in that need help and need the guidance, especially through this last year in the pandemic. It really felt like I was doing something important. And I feel like I learned something every day. So if you have any resources in your town, whether it's the local chamber, whether it's a place like us that helps small businesses, sometimes they have like small business centers, definitely connect with those people, because there's a lot you need to know. And there are people that want to connect you with that information.
Right, right. So at this point, I think we finished the questions that we made for you. Does anybody else watching have any other questions?
I have a question. Is it something that you think will become full-time?
I would love to, but horses are expensive. So who knows? And I really do want to keep my garments in an affordable price range, but that means that I don't take a lot. There's not a whole lot of profit for me to make there, and I'm okay with that, because my mission is to help other families like my own. I came from a single parent household. My mom was a teacher. We couldn't afford to buy a different outfit for every class.
Right.
And so we'll see moving forward, but right now I'm kind of happy juggling both.
Love that.
Somebody in the chat asked if you have any tips for people competing in Youth of the Year.
I think Youth of the Year is really fun because it's competitive with friends, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like a job interview. So if you think about it more like a job interview than even like a competition in the show ring, I think that really helps. And, you know, if you really want a job, if you really want to win the Youth of the Year, you got to take it seriously. So you got to study, you got to know your stuff, you know, if you really commit to it, like you would, you know, a job, you got it.
That's awesome. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much. You were really, really informational.
Thanks, guys. I'm so flattered that you asked me.
Thank you everyone for coming.